to the live Audible show, sitting with my guys, Donnie, Rightside, and the Whale Capper. We're going to talk about these two Friday night games briefly. We've already capped them on our Tuesday show. We're going to talk about them, but we are going to hammer the rest of this card. There's a nice looking schedule on Saturday. Then we have one game on Sunday. Donnie, Rightside, how you enjoying Miami?
Hey, doing good, man. It's a lot of fun being down here. We just got some bad news, which we'll allude to in a little bit from the Philadelphia Phillies game, but this is what we're here for. You hear Jimmy's voice. He's putting in that work. The show must go on, Jimmy. It must go on.
The show must go on. The show must go on. But it's very easy when I've got you guys by my side. Well, Capper, how you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic, man. It's week 3 of the preseason. I'm dying for football to start. We have meaningful college football tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic to finally sink your teeth into real deal, actual matters football games. And I'm dying for this NFL season to get here, man. And the only thing that's missing is I need to get some of that NFL Game Pass.
Yeah, you do. We all do. And we are giving one out on our late show. All you have to do is hit the pinned tweet on SBR Sports Picks and let us know which book. It's our best sportsbook page. That's the link. And hit that and let us know which book you think should be amongst the best sportsbooks that we have. If there's one sportsbook that you think should be in that group, let us know. And then you will qualify for the NFL Game Pass. We've been giving them out all week. Yes, football is here and you need to be able to watch it. You need to have every single game, and you need to have multiple books to beat line moves, and that's what we're going to be talking about right now is beating line moves. Let's talk about these two games. Now, we already capped them on the show, but I want to see if anything's changed, if you've made any moves, because I have not made any moves. I have a first half over with a question mark beside it, and I have a Bills -1 right now, and as you can see, Bills are -3 and -3.5, so... and this total, though, opened at 45 and is now a 43 or 42.5. And when we broke this down, we're talking about Garrett Gilbert looking good. He's looked good for the Browns. Ryan Griffin's looked good. And how much of Jameis Winston are we going to see? The Browns are now 2-point favorites at almost all the books. 1.5 at Bovada and Pinnacle. Opened at a pick'em. Donnie, Rightside, do you have a move on this Browns-Bucks?
To be honest with you, Jimmy, I think the better games, betting-wise to me, are going to be on Saturday, but we're going to go over these and, but again, it just gets back to the original point. Yesterday, the same thing we're looking on Thursday. The haves and the have-nots in the preseason, the teams that are looking forward to the preseason and the teams looking forward to the actual season, I think we're getting a little bit out of tonight. All the hype on the Browns. Now, they're 2-0. They played well in their first 2 games and picked up victories. But I think they smell the finish line here. I think their coach is going to be smart enough in this football game saying, you know what? Let's end on a crisp note. If Baker Mayfield goes out, you see him. He's a gamer. He wants to play the whole game, Jimmy. You can't do that. You have to temper expectations. Go out there. Maybe he gets a good first drive and pull him out because there are bigger things in the water for Cleveland than opposed to winning this game. Opposite for the Buccaneers. New head football coach comes in, old salt Bruce Arians, but he's looking more long-term. What are the players I have on my football team? Maybe play him a little bit longer. I actually like the Buccaneers in this game.
The Buccaneers. So that would be going up against our Tomarino Tomor. Tomor says, I've hit 6 straight in the preseason. I'm on Cleveland -3 tonight. Says Mayfield wants to play a half kitchen. Dislikes Arians for demoting him. Tomor on one side. Donnie Rightside on the other side. What side are you on, Whale Capper?
I think this is a stay away from a side perspective, but I think you can get some value if you're looking for an under here. I know that we're expecting to see these two kind of offensive-focused approaches. I think it's not unreasonable to think that there's a little bit of bad blood between Kitchens and Arians because they have a history. Whether I don't know, it goes back a ways. And this is speculating entirely on motivation here, but. It wouldn't surprise me at all if both teams are kind of playing to win here just based on the personal history between the coaches. Aside from that, the Browns have impressed all preseason to this point. I think they're rightfully, reasonably favored. But a total in the 40s in this third week of the preseason is an underlook for me. I'm getting this broader sense as we get to the week 3 of the preseason, which used to be like a great appetizer. Like, get ready for NFL. Yep. Like, this is real, this will really whet your appetite. Now it feels like an extension of week 4. Like, so many teams legitimately just absolutely mailing it in, like, looking at the deep part of their roster. Like we saw with Jacksonville last night. Like, that was a pathetic effort by that squad. They really did not, show us anything competitive. And it's happening all across the league. I mean, some of yesterday's games were a joke. 80-yard field in Winnipeg between the Raiders and the Packers. Like, what the hell? Every bet voided in the Ravens game because they didn't play 55 minutes. Like, this is This is getting old. It's getting tired. And maybe it's just because we were so fired up for NFL this season and we got such an early start on it. And week 1 and week 2 were pretty good and pretty entertaining. But week 3 so far has been a huge disappointment other than actually getting to hang out with the guys at the game last night.
Yeah, no, it was well put. Well put. The Jaguars had no try in them whatsoever. Donnie, you're leaning towards Buccaneers, but do you think that Browns will have an advantage in the first half?
See, and again, it gets like I see like some of the stuff, which makes, I mean, these are professionals. Like, if he didn't get a job because some guy demoted him, do you think he's going to play Baker Mayfield in the starters all 4 quarters to prove a point to the other coach that he's mad he got demoted? No way. Like, the Browns have so much more to play for tonight. I just see them saying, look at Cam Newton last night. Do we want this? Do we want to go hard for a quarter and a half? And, Mayfield goes down. Now what's your expectation for? The only job in this football game, if you're a team that expects to win the division of the playoffs, is escape without injury. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So Prince of the City, our guy Ant says, I like Cleveland first half. Kyle Jack says not going to go against the Browns at the moment, even though I'm a Bucks fan. Party Hardy taking the points with Tampa. So yeah, Party Hardy with you. Right. And I want to thank all the low baggers rolling with us right now. We got Nut Flush Allen here live. We got Mr. Fat Fist, and Mr. Fat Fist and Babano getting their drink on. Big smiles, huge smiles.
Cheers, man.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Al Mack just opened up his first brewski, or 7th. I haven't been counting. Jared Trader says, Jimmy, were you on Nationals? They're up 7-0. No, I did not make a bet on this game. And you know, I'm starting to get.
Stay hot.
I've had a really good week.
Yeah,
you know, not a great
over.
week, but a good weekend. And I think I'm going to take tonight real easy and just enjoy hanging with you guys more than, you know, putting myself out on the line. And I'm interested when we talk about, I'm going to have something. There's no way I will not have action on the Phillies Marlins game. I just have to. So
action, the key word tonight in that game.
Oh man, I just wish my voice was better for heckling. Let's move on to Bills Lions. So Bills -1 was the look that both you guys were talking about, and now it's a situation where it should have been taken advantage of, it looks like, because there's now 3.5s on the board. The 3s are juiced at -125. Disappointing that I didn't jump on that. We talked about Barkley and Allen looking good, and Lions getting decimated in week 1 and then looking better in week 2, but you know, fails than Josh Johnson. I mean, they're not. Josh Johnson looked bad. And then I have the Le'Veon Bell under 1,200 or 1,125.5 yards. I remember that was a big thing from our show. But Bills -1, I missed it. Donnie Wrightside, are you taking it, or did you take it?
I did not take it, but I still agree with it, and I agree with the line movement. And 3.5, you know, was the 3 numbers we talk about, not really all that key, but it does look like an insurmountable thing. But the same thing that we're going to look at for Detroit here. They haven't looked good in their first 2 games. But again, this is a new NFL where maybe a couple years ago you're trying to get that, hey, let's look really good in preseason week 3 so we can take a breather heading into the season. Once again, their only option here is not to get Matthew Stafford hurt. And you saw he's never thrown less than 23 preseason passes, and that came last year. He's even like less this year, and they're even have given him time off in camp just to make sure he's healthy for the grind of a full regular season. One team, the Buffalo Bills, setting the tone, trying to do some bigger things. A younger team, you know they're going to play their starting quarterback and their backup quarter longer than what the Detroit Lions are going to be. I completely agree with that line move, and I'd be surprised if Buffalo doesn't win this game by a touchdown.
By a touchdown, yeah. Wow. And the total opening at 43 is now at 41 or 41.5. What do you think about that spot?
Tough one. I mean, again, in the preseason, I like what Wellcapper says. Like, it just leans like anything could go on. Like, one injury in the first quarter, even to the other team starter, scares the other team right off it. I'm always leaning under all the time in the preseason.
Kyle Jack liking the Bills and the over here. We're going to talk about so many different games where the market moves have dropped. There's only one game where the total's gone up. Tomer says, I lean Bills. They played much harder all season. Kyle Jack on the Bills as well. Whale Capper, what's your spot here?
Yeah, so the Bills was a look for us when we previewed this on Tuesday, and it was cheap at the time. Now it's inflated. I think, I think Donnie's handicap there was reasonable. Bills by 7 seems, ballpark about the right way to line this. And a lot of it goes to, Bills are one of 5 teams that are carrying and trying.
True.
You would look to the Lions, and the way they were absolutely embarrassed week 1 at home against the Patriots, getting booed into halftime in your first preseason game is really bad. And this is their second home preseason game here tonight. Need to see something respectable out of these guys. I'm going to be keenly watching for the Bills to take like a 14-3, 14-0 lead into halftime, and I'm going to come back hard on the Lions and try to hit a middle here because I think this does this is a one-score game when it's all said and done, and Detroit's going to be extremely motivated not to be just soundly embarrassed again at home.
Wow. Yeah, and there's no difference between the full game spread and the first half spread.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, actually. Yeah. But the Bills are, their first unit is going to roll out there, and they're going to try, and they're not going to give you vanilla plays. They're going to, they're working out opportunities for, Josh Allen to develop his passing, reading through his progressions, and they're legitimately, running offense, which is awesome to watch. But I think they're going to be able to score on Detroit here early.
Yeah, and Nutflush Allen just jumped on the Bills' first half. Sherrigan, those two games are this evening. Those two games pop off this evening. I'm not making a move at this point. Let's move on to the Saturday card. And we're going to start with Arizona, Minnesota. Vikings opened up at -4.5. Now there's -6s everywhere except Pinnacle and Heritage are hanging 5.5. The total opened at 43.5. It's still there everywhere except at Pinnacle where it's 42.5. Cardinals opened with a 17-13 win at home to the Chargers. Followed that up with a 30-26 home loss to the Raiders. Murray did not look good against the Raiders. You talked about the trouble that they were having with the offensive line, and it was 3 and 8 for 12 yards, sacked twice. Did not look good. Vikings opened up with a 34-25 win at the Saints and followed that up with a 25-19 win at home versus the Seahawks. Slaughter looked really good. Slaughter, Manning, and Cousins have all looked good, but especially Slaughter, 11 for 13, 116 yards, 1 TD in this Cardinals-Vikings game. Vikings opened up at -4.5, now -6 at most books. Donnie, you have a move here?
Yeah, you know what's interesting with that, too, because he talked about it a couple of times during the week. Very rare in the preseason, because this game actually got up to a 7 line, and I agree just with the buyback getting it under, because if you're going to give somebody 7 in the preseason, don't you just take it automatically and say, you know what, I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. I don't have the line out yet, but I'm assuming once it comes out, I like the Vikings in the first half in this game. I think they're going to roll out their starters to at least get some, good vibes going, so to speak, towards the regular season. Kirk Cousins will roll a little bit, and I'm just not happy with what I see from the first wave of Cardinals players. They're going to get a pretty good defense to go up from, so maybe Kyler Murray struggles again. I don't think they're going to open up the playbook in Arizona in week 3 just to get him some confidence. I think they're going to wait till week 1. I like the Vikings' first half look in this game. I think they should be up a touchdown at the half.
Up a touchdown at the half. I'm looking forward to see what that line is. There it is. Minnesota first half as a strong look from Donnie on Saturday morning. Whale Capper, what do you think?
So I'm definitely team Slaughterhouse. I'm part of the Slaughter Hive. This guy's going to be the backup quarterback in Minnesota, and the heir apparent to Kirk Cousins when that contract is over. So. I think he's good. I think he's going to be able to score some points. I get why the Vikings are a favorite. That said, the fact that anyone is a 6-point favorite in preseason NFL is kind of ludicrous. And even if the Vikings are up by 21 at some point, they're going to let their guard down and bring this back to a 1-score game. It seems reasonable. So I'm not taking any pregame action on this. I'm just going to look out for Vikings to have a 2-score lead and maybe try to snap up some line value on the Cardinals at that time, because live lines could trickle into -14, minus double digits, and that's anytime we've seen that outside a handful of 3 or 4 games this entire preseason so far, we've seen the team come from behind and close that gap. So I'll be looking live for a Cardinals position, as stinky as that sounds.
Well, and look at this total. You have Pinnacle over 42.5. They're not moving it up. And they're leaving that at -130, so they don't want the action. They don't want the act. That, to me, says bet the over. And I'm not saying that I'm going to do that, but that's what it says to me when Pinnacle won't move it off of 42.5 and will keep it heavily juiced. What do you think about this total?
I mean, it makes sense to see where it's put out there, but that's more of like a regular season total where I'm going to get 4 quarters out of starters. And it's hard to just put. I know the younger kids are playing a little bit better, and Arizona's still going to want to play 4 quarters trying to find their football team. But 40, it's tough for me, Jimmy, to take a 44. Everything has to go right in the preseason for you to get that 46, 47, 48 type point range.
Mm-hmm. And it's 44. Yeah.
You see a 44 in the preseason, that's an auto under.
Yeah.
only thing that's stopping me is I believe in Slaughter. I believe in Minnesota's offense. They are trying. Again, we go back to Bills and Vikings are 2 of 5 teams that I have legitimately trying this preseason. So they could score 30. I mean, we've seen it. We saw it against the Saints, and we saw what the Raiders did to this Cardinals team in preseason week 2. The Cardinals defense were barely resistant. So, otherwise this is an auto under.
Interesting, because just what Pinnacle is doing is enough to keep me off of it and scare me in a different direction. I just had DJ Big Boss Trotwam and Mr. Gokster roll into the spot. Great to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's move on to Bears Colts. Colts opened at -3.5. Now they're -2.5 everywhere except BetOnline, hanging at 2. Total opened at 42.5. Dropped all the way down to 37. 5.5 drop on the total. Bears have lost their first 2 preseason games badly. 23-13 at home to the Panthers. 32-13 at the Giants. Daniel and Bray both have not looked good. Colts lost 24-16 at the Bills and 21-18 at home versus the Browns. Chad Kelly has impressed. Chad Kelly he's looked good. He's looked good. Bears, Colts now 2.5 if you want to grab them. Is this something that you're interested back in the Colts?
No, I'm actually interested. I'd be more interested in the Bears, because when you're looking at injuries and you're looking at quarterback injuries, that really shutters right down, because when you don't know Andrew Luck's going to play week 1, that means you can't have Jacoby Brissett. Even if he's going to play or was going to play, he can't play long at all. But now it looks like they're going to start their third-string quarterback, which will be Kelly for the majority of the game. I don't want any part of that, because they're already in preservation mode. You're not going to get very good quarterback play out of Indianapolis for 4 quarters. I think I'm going to get a little bit better, especially I always love the backup position in Chicago. Give me the Bears in this one.
Taking the Bears, what do you think of that?
Nah, Swag Kelly time. This is this is his time to shine, man. They're going to take the top off the defense for him. Let him be a little creative out there. No, this is a wild, obvious stay away. Like the Bears have given us absolutely no indication that they're trying. And they've given us no indication that they're going to run any kind of legitimate looks on first-team offense or first-team defense. So combine that with this, the likelihood that Swag Kelly is going to be doing some good things and also some gross turnovers probably, and you have a total coin flip game here that is an easy stay away.
Torino says, I think the value in the Bears game is on the under. Neither team cares. Colts said starters will barely play. I think both teams run a lot to shorten the game. I'm not going to take it when it's gone down this far, but that does make it, that's a very clear argument that makes sense. So no moves on Bears, Colts. Are you making a move on the Bears?
I don't know. I would like to see where that line actually ends, because I guess it was only a couple hours ago where they basically said they're not going to play their first 2 quarterbacks. And I like Chase Daniel. He's like MVP of the preseason. You're going to get a decent look on offense for that team. That's the only reason why I would take the Bears. Just that alone.
I'll say this about the Bears though. I mean, Chase Daniel has looked kind of bad this preseason for whatever reason. I don't have a very good read on if it's like they're not giving him the opportunity to make plays because of who else they have out there. And the who else they have out there is a big problem with the Bears. Like, it turns out that's not a deep team. Like, their second and third unit guys that they're throwing out there from the running back position. Like, one guy had like 4 touches and 2 lost fumbles against the Giants. like these are not NFL players, and they're going to be out there for a ton of the game. So it is an easy one to just steer clear of, as far as I can tell you.
Well, let's roll on to Texans at Cowboys. Cowboys opened at -2.5. Now it's a pick'em. Total open at 3.5. Now it's down to 40. Pinnacle hanging at 40.5. Bookmaker 39.5. Texas opened with a 38-26 loss at the Packers, and followed that up with a 30-23 win at home versus the Lions. Deshaun Watson took advantage of his one series, and he looked good. 75-yard drive, 4-yard touchdown. Webb then came in and was Joe Webb, 186 yards, a TD in the pick. Cowboys have played in 2 low-scoring games thus far. 17-9 at Frisco, 14-10 versus the Rams in Hawaii. Prescott looked good in that one drive, went back to pass 7 times, 5 different receivers that he connected with, covered 97 yards in 12 plays, and he liked the challenge of getting out there at the goal line. Cooper Rush and Mike White do not look good coming in after him, and they still have this cloud of Zeke hanging over the franchise moving in here. This is a spot where Dallas opened up as a favorite, and I completely understand why they are no longer the favorite, because we know what happens as soon as Cooper and Mike come in the game. They look terrible, and it's very conservative offense, and so I can understand this move towards the Texans. Should we understand it all the way to the point of betting them, Donnie?
To be honest, out of every single game on the Week 3 slate, this one is the most coin flip to me, because you're looking at two teams that can play a little bit of defense. Mobile quarterbacks on one side, they're not going to be playing out there too long, and again, it just gets back to like the Joe Webb, and you're right, you bring up the backup quarterbacks for Dallas. What are we really getting at? This seems to me like one of those games where who's going to be more physical, and it's Texas, and just give me the under 39 or under 40 in this football game.
Just simply backing the under.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've watched Cowboys' first 2 games, that seems like a slam dunk.
It does, and the only thing I can bring to the discussion to challenge that is the Cowboys are in a little bit of a dicey spot right now, where they have not come together as a team this preseason at all. We haven't seen Mari Cooper in practice now because of his plantar fasciitis or whatever the hell's going on with his foot. We haven't seen Zeke in camp yet. Dak Prescott's still presumably behind the scenes trying to negotiate a long-term deal. So there is an awful lot unsettled about this Dallas team, and we're in week 3 of the preseason. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Garrett, tries to put a little bit of kind of positive momentum to kind of change the narrative in the locker room. Everyone talking to each other about what's going on with Zeke. Is he going to come? What's going on with Cooper? Is he hurt? This would be a good opportunity if you were the coach of the Cowboys, and granted, it's silly to be speculating that Jason Garrett's going to make some smart decisions, because this is, after all, a rematch of probably the game regular season primetime game last season, where we should have, the losing coach should have been given his pink slip, but yet both teams make the playoffs, so go figure. But I think if I were in the coaching staff, if I were part of the organization, I would be looking seriously here if I were the Cowboys to try to set the tone a little bit in this game, to be the dominant team, to come together as a squad, and to try to change some of the conversation around the team as we come into the home stretch of the preseason here. And I'm kind of curious what your guys' take is on this. I'll throw a question back to the panel here. Is there an incentive for the Cowboys to continue to try to feed Tony Pollard? Like, he looked good in the second preseason game, and Jerry Jones obviously it was a little tongue-in-cheek, but it made for a viral clip regardless. Zeke who? Like, it's to their negotiating benefit to say, you're a product of our system and we can replace you, therefore you should take this deal that you're being offered now. But at the same time, they may, look to, soften the negotiation, to cool temperatures a little bit as well, because I'm sure that, with what happened in the last game, obviously Zeke's camp was probably pretty pissed. And I don't know if you want to alienate them. So I'm just, in my head, as I've been thinking about this game and how it influences the handicap, I've been trying to figure out if the Cowboys are incentivized to keep feeding Pollard or to take the foot off the gas, because they may need Pollard.
I think that you have to take the foot off the gas personally, but I can't say that that's what they're going to do, but that's what I would do 100% out of fear that Pollard gets hurt, and by saying, oh, man, boss, why did you say that? How is that possibly going to help us? It's just Jerry Jones just believing that he's bigger than everyone, and it doesn't, so I think that, but would they follow that psychological idea that you want to make, like, you're concerned about what Jones said and you need Pollard to be healthy, so I'd give him maybe 2 carries. Because if he goes off for a 60-yard run, that's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
But maybe it isn't. Maybe that's exactly what Jerry wants. It's his world, man. What do you think?
It is crazy. Yeah. Like, it's literally crazy what's going on in Dallas, because you're trying to set up for a regular season, which you do have a pretty good football team. And then you see today the CBS.com report that says Zeke's trainer is calling Dak a bum. And then can you be any more tone deaf if you're not the joke that Jerry brought out, but everybody wants their money, and out of nowhere you give the linebacker a big-time deal. So what's that send, like, everybody running it up the street? And then also you're taking a look at a guy who has 2 years left on his contract with Zeke Elliott, and he's being offered the second most money in the NFL, and he's going to balk at that. So you're right about that. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I like the point you bring up where you're trying to get that running back ready, because Dallas is a physical football team. Dallas is going to run the ball, so you're going to let this kid get off and say, you know what, if he's going to have to be our starter, we can't have him getting 3 to 4 touches and playing 10% of the snaps in the preseason. He's got to be ready to go. That might be a nice little look there to say, you know, we might have to play our starters a little bit longer because this kid's going to need to be able to pick up some blitzes and play just in case Zeke doesn't come back.
Houston had a pick 'em all day, says the Sports 78, says they play hard for the Governor's Bowl, and Dallas really banged up. Is that a fact? Do you think they'll play hard for the Governor's Bowl? Like, do you think?
That's what you play for.
The guy, right? The Governor's Bowl, of course you do. Yeah.
I do not know which direction Dallas is going to take, and I would lean towards them not pushing Pollard. I would lean towards them not pushing him too hard. But I understand both arguments, and because I don't know which one to take, how could I possibly make a bet on this game?
Okay, I got one more quick thought, and it's somewhat total related. Not the total for this game, but we've kind of laid out, we're not 100% sure what Dallas's kind of mentality, motivation is going to be here. But let's assume that it doesn't go well. You know, let's assume that we see what we saw the first couple preseasons, where they're not really scoring points. They don't look like a dynamic offense. We know we're not going to see Amari Cooper. We know we're not going to see a ton of Dak out there. But the total week 1, hosting the Giants, opened at 46.5, got bet down to 45.5. That doesn't cross a key number really at 46. It's still kind of floating in there, and a pretty nice look for an underplay. We know the Dallas defense is absolutely stacked, absolutely loaded. We know that the Giants, the Giants offense, the kind of the public perception of them after they've been scoring all these points in the preseason is a little bit inflated in terms of how people feel. I think that the under this week 1 under in the Cowboys Giants game is just screaming at me, and I'm going to be probably taking some action after we get a sense of the state of the Cowboys' first and second team offense in this game.
I think that's a nice look. I think that's a really nice look. I almost feel like even if Zeke was back, that I still would like the look. I don't even know if that changes that much. In fact, I think you actually maybe even want Zeke in there, just so you know that the clock is going to be moving. And if it's Pollard, then you don't need to stack the box.
Or even the clock moving, just like the team's a little unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
Like not everybody knows 100% what their role is. Like that, like the potential I'm looking at a team in the Cowboys that to start the season is going to have a defense with their hair on fire, ton of young talent, and good scheme, and an offense that's just still trying to figure out what their identity is. Like it may take them weeks before we see an offense that really puts together a complete performance from this Cowboys team.
I think the under is a great look. What do you think, Don?
No, I think Dallas plays right to an under. I really do, especially in the preseason. They're going to be running the ball. They're going to be physical. They're going to play good defense. And the backup quarterbacks aren't that good. Definitely plays to an under for me, too.
Yeah, and then in week 1 against the Giants, do you think it leans towards an over?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends on when Zeke gets in there. Because if you have that real, guys are good. Because what happens now if we say, because there's 2 guys that have to have the same contract heading into the season. What happens if Zeke gets his money and Dak doesn't? I mean, there's so many oddball objectives there when you take a look at Dallas. If one's going to get a contract, they both need to get one. Then the wide receiver needs one. So crazy.
I hope Dak maxes out.
Me too.
I got a fun prop, a made up prop time for you guys.
Yes.
Donnie, I'm going to give you 3 options. 1, Zeke holds out into the regular season. That's lined plus 300. Number 2, Zeke shows up over Labor Day weekend with no new contract. He voluntarily reports. I'm going to line that minus 125. And then the third is they actually give him his money, and he shows up and plays.
Jerry Jones going to cave.
Say that's like plus 600.
Of all the guys, like you need to pay Dak, but Zeke's going to get his money, and it's crazy that I get back to it, he has no leverage at all, Zeke, and he's knocking down being number 2 on the payroll list for running backs. But if I had to say it, Zeke's showing up Labor Day weekend with a deal. He's not coming back. He's not. He's going to sit out and hope they get beat and he wants his money and it turns bad, but they're in a tough situation. But I think he comes back next week
with a contract.
With a big contract,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. it seems like they're super far apart, which is why I would say that that's the long shot of those three outcomes.
Yeah, and I think they can beat the Giants week 1 without him. And so if I was Jerry, I'd be telling everybody that. I'd be saying, we're going to win week 1 without him. Let's go, boys. You know? So I don't think he shows up. I don't think he's there week 1 with a contract. All right, let's move on to Saints at Jets. Open at a pick'em. Now -3s across the board. Total open at 45. Some 42.5s, mostly 42s. Only 141.5 at bookmaker. Saints open with a 34-25 loss at the Vikings. Followed that up with a 19-17 win at the Chargers. Bridgewater's looked bad. Looked bad against the Chargers. Taysom Hill came in and looked great. Saved the, put the game on his shoulders and took him home. Jets open with a 31-22 loss at the Giants. Followed that with a 22-10 win at the Falcons. Darnold and Falk have looked good. Both look good in the win. They were also running the ball very well. And that's, without Le'Veon. And that's what was important for Gase was to show that we can do this, and all the different options that we have coming out from the running back position. They look good running the ball. They look good passing the ball. The Jets looked good. And do the Saints care at all? Because the Jets do. What do you think about this spot?
Drew Brees is going to be back in it, and I know Teddy Bridgewater hasn't looked that good, but I always just look at they have a good three-headed combo quarterback for preseason action. You're going to get Drew Brees out there maybe for 2 series, and then you're going to go and get Teddy Bridgewater, and then you're going to have a really good preseason quarterback in Taysom Hill who can run and throw, which is awesome against backups, 3rd and 4th string who blow their assignments and turn their back to the line of scrimmage. He should be able to do some damage, but I actually like the first half total, Jimmy, over in this football game. If I'm looking at anything, I think we get some pretty good shots either way from the offenses. But I do agree with the line movement. What do you have? Chris offshore opens up at Pick'em, -1 to New Orleans, now up to 3. I agree with New Orleans. I think I'm going to get 3 NFL quarterbacks in a game, full game. I'll take that side.
Interesting. Back in New Orleans in this spot. What do you think, Capper?
I hate that this line has moved in the direction of the Saints. I think the Jets were the play here from Jump Street, and if now you're going to inflate this line and give me a big old money line number, I'm all about the Jets in this spot.
Are you going to just take them full game?
Jets money line full game. Yes. This is the Jets. This is the Jets, and
Super Bowl 3.
So I will. I've talked about this on the podcast we recorded this week. I've talked about this a couple of the places. Like, my feelings about the Saints have been this growing snowball of pessimism. Like, at first I was like, they're not going to be as good as last year. I guess maybe they should be favored to win the South. Now, the more and more I see of the way this team is kind of coming into this season, the more and more I evaluate their draft picks for the last 2 years, the more problems I see in this team. And now Drew Brees enters year 40, coming off what looked like a pretty serious shoulder injury from last season that we don't know if it's fully healed yet. And of the practice clips I've seen of Drew Brees throwing the ball, it looks like he legitimately the end is nigh. And I would like to see the Jets kind of challenge Drew Brees to throw the ball on them. And I would actually, I'm dying to know if my conception, my sense here is correct or not, if his arm really is, a problem. And I think in general this season, especially as we enter the regular season here, this is not a well-kept secret. I think a lot of teams in the NFL know this, and they're going to challenge Brees to beat them deep. The Eagles obviously figured it out in the playoffs. They gave him anything he wanted in the deep part of the passing game, and he could barely make throws down the field. The game-ending interception effectively against the Rams was just an absolute duck of a throw from Brees. I think we're going to get to a point this season, and it may already be upon us, where teams kind of figure out, give Drew Brees opportunities to try to beat you down the field and just let the ball fly. So I'm cool on the Saints just in general, but in this game in particular.
Well, when we take a look at just like regular season purposes, we always talk. I mean, this is even when he was healthy. We talk about New Orleans going outdoors, and Drew Brees might not be able to make that 15-yard out. Is that even more of a look now this year for you, even right off the bat?
I think yes, honestly. Yeah. And
it's an interesting.
Here's a scenario that I could very reasonably see play out over the next couple weeks and the next couple months. The Saints have a ton of coin flip games. Things might get off to a rocky start, as they traditionally start slow. I don't think we've seen anything from Teddy Bridgewater in a Saints uniform to this point that suggests he is a reasonable and competent backup. They may cut him. They may go with Taysom Hill as the true blue backup there. And if we get to a point in this season where they're like, okay, look, like Breeze obviously still isn't healthy. He's still dealing with whatever is going on with his shoulder injury. We want to give him like some extended time off and make one more run at it next year. It wouldn't shock me at all if we see Taysom Hill start like 4 or 6 games for the Saints this year.
Wow.
Let's go.
That's wild. That's wild. I'm sure the Saints fans are happy about that.
Clip that. Put that
Well,
one on the
Taysom Hill
clip.
could chuck it, and he can run, so that might you never
BYU
know.
style, baby.
You never know.
No, he's solid.
I'm,
Solid on the goal
I'm
line.
fully prepared to have all of my team total unders go up in smoke as Taysom Hill wins the last 4 games of the season as the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints.
Oh man, I like that future. Because that means that the Falcons win the division.
Yeah.
And that's still I haven't locked that in yet. But after this is when I will do it.
Cam Newton getting hurt yesterday. You think that number's creeping a little?
Yeah, I imagine that it's been creeping. Yeah, it deserves to be bet as soon as possible. But the Panthers, because this type of issue with the Panthers is something that we've talked about and that we expect out of Cam Newton and that shoulder of his. So I'm not surprised at that at all. Okay, so in that spot, we do have a look on the first half over from Donnie Rightside and the full game money line on the Jets from the Whale Cap. Let's move on the Niners at Chiefs. Chiefs opened up at -3.5. It stayed. Yeah, man. It's time. It's time. Time to back the Niners after Jimmy G looked so bad, and he's got to come out, and we expect him to come out and look good.
He can't look worse, right?
No. The whole Niners offense. The
He
Niners
can throw for negative.
He can go for
yards,
2
I guess.
for 6 this time.
the Niners win that game 24-15, and they go 8 for 20 for 93 yards as a team.
Yeah.
They're 2-0 in the preseason and not looking good. And then Mahomes didn't look good in that 17-7 loss to the Steelers with 2 for 5 for 11 yards. I mean, he didn't look good either. Is this a spot where both Mahomes and Jimmy G are is like a little, even though Mahomes looked fine in week 1, but maybe just like a little get right moment for like a first half over? This is the only total on the entire board that's gone up.
Yeah.
Every single other one has gone down, and this one has gone up. Chiefs opened to -3.5 and stayed there. Donnie Rightside, 49ers at Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at shouldn't this be the game that goes over? Even though you see that 45 line, we had the same thing that was lined in Pittsburgh last week, but I think that game might have been a little bit different if you don't get that shower, which scares, we can't lose a starter, can't hurt any hamstrings out there. But this one lines up a little bit more because I think they'll let Mahomes rip, and Andy Reid has done that in the past. I mean, he's still, he's been around a long time, but almost 20 years as a head coach in the NFL, maybe even this is his 20th year as a head coach in the NFL. He lets his guys play a little bit longer. And I say it's like a broken record. Now, San Francisco is going to roll out 3 legitimate NFL quarterbacks in this game for the entire game. And I like San Francisco with the points in this game. And, I hate taking 45s over, but this game just says over to me. I think you're going to get really good offense all the way through 4 quarters by 2 teams that dial it up at times.
Torino saying I'd lean over, but I'm not betting an over at 45 in the preseason. It's what do you think of this breakdown, Will?
Yeah, no, this jives, but this again, like anything you're going to give me a total in the mid 40s in the preseason, I'm betting an under. I mean, this is an offense that is sputtering right now. I haven't seen or heard any reports from Niners practice in the follow up to that poor performance from Jimmy G. That's like, oh no, he's got his mojo back. Like he's got some rhythm with his guys now. Like the weird thing, there's 2 really weird glaring holes on the Niners roster. Like their wide receiver core is a lot of talent on paper, speed. They look good running routes, but they're just other than Kittle, the tight end, it's a weak crew. And then the secondary for the Niners too. Like you would think a guy like John Lynch would recognize like how important it is to have a really impactful coverage unit, and this Niners secondary is just awful. I had to triple check my numbers when I was kind of breaking down like how poor they were last year in coverage, because I was like, I must have a bust here or a mistake. Like this can't be. They cannot have been this bad. They only got 2 interceptions last year in over 600 pass attempts from their opposing quarterbacks. That's an interception rate that is the lowest that we've ever seen in the NFL, and it's not close.
Yeah.
Like, not anywhere close. Like, in fact, you go back through all of NFL history, there's not a single team, even going back to like the 1920s, where a team had less than 3 interceptions in a season, and the Niners only had 2 last year, which is wild to try to wrap your head around. And you know, it's given how important the passing game is in today's NFL, and given how critical it is to be able to cover well. It's shocking that they are in the state they are in, and I think it's got me very, very concerned about some kind of optimism I had for this team this year. And I think you need to look at their questionable pass defense and their ability to stop the pass as a more significant issue than the current play of Jimmy G as we head into the regular season.
There's holes, and Tolmore saying Lynch has missed on a lot of draft picks on defense. There's no doubt about it. But then Tolmore saying 49ers are learning Garoppolo's an average quarterback outside of the New England system. I don't agree. I know that Shanahan can dial it up for Jimmy G. I have no concerns of the 1 for 6. I have no concerns.
Yeah, no, I say it, man. I would. Tolmore has a million good takes. Mm-hmm. This is not a good one, though. I gotta tell you, the New England. We didn't even really see much of Jimmy G in the New England system. The Niners got him for a freaking song. I think they give him a second round pick for him. Yeah. Like Jimmy G did not prove to us he could stay on the field and be healthy and be a competent starter in the NFL. The Niners took a chance on him, and it was when the Niners injected him into the starting lineup and paired him with the Kyle Shanahan system that we saw so much promise and we saw so much potential. So I think he is the right quarterback for this system. I just don't think that they have a especially capable or talented receiving crew. And it's when your top 2 targets in your passing game are your tight end and your fullback, you got to wonder, like, how sustainable is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. And about this spot and about KC looking so bad to the Steelers, Intex says, and it's my man Vic, an incredible thoroughbred handicapper and original low bagger, says if anybody saw the last KC game, the Steelers started blitzing every play and Andy pulled Mahomes early. Remember, they had the hour lightning delay and both teams sucked. So that's it. Okay, so let's keep making moves here. That's the 49ers at Chiefs. So is there any look on this?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't take the over-under, but I do like San Francisco full game in this. If you're going to give me more than a field goal, I'll take San Francisco in that game.
San Francisco with more than a field goal. What about you, Will Capper?
I'm on the other side here.
Yes.
I do think that the Chiefs get this done. I am hopeful. I'm not betting this game, and I am hopeful that the Niners show us some competitiveness here. It's just the way that they match up with this team, and even the second stringers on this team screams, Chiefs keeping them at arm's length from whistle to whistle.
Excuse me, Kyle Jackson, what do you guys like on totals for tonight's game? Right at the very end of the show, and we'll even see if our guys in the audience have any action on tonight's game. So we'll make sure we check that out. So let's get these. So we have the 3 more games. So let's try to do them in like 3 or 4 minutes each. Mm-hmm. Next up, Broncos, Rams. Open Rams -2, now -1.5 everywhere in the -1 at BetOnline. Total open at 41.5. Another game where the total just fell apart, and now most of the books are hanging at 35. So that's 6.5 points. It's gone down. Broncos open with the 18-14 win in the Hall of Fame game, followed that up with a 22-14 loss at Seattle and a 24-15 loss at home versus the Niners. Flacco did not look good, and Kevin Hogan and Drew Lock looked bad. So Flacco did not look good, and the other 2 guys looked bad. Rams have scored 13 points combined in their opening losses to the Raiders and the Cowboys, the latter coming in Hawaii. Brandon Allen looked good at times, and Bortles looked okay, 7 for 11, 62 yards, and a TD. Donnie, Rams opening at -2 now, heading towards -1. So money coming in on the Broncos. What do you think?
It's interesting because Denver raised the white. As we know, Denver played that first preseason game, and it came out today. They're not playing any starters. Joe Flacco's not going to play in this game. Drew Lock's already out for the preseason. Like, if both of these teams actually get to ask if they didn't want to play this game, they both would probably opt out of it. Now, when you're looking from the Rams side, they're notorious for not really caring about in preseason action, but Blake Bortles is still going to run out there, and I think they're going to give him some time. And look, he's not the greatest quarterback, but again, that same notion of he's played in the NFL. He's going to be able to get guys lined up in the right position and maybe even come back and make something of this backup career that he's going to have in the NFL. when Denver comes out and says we're not playing any starters, it's a wrap on the preseason, that's an automatic no-no for me. So I'll lean on the Rams as much as I don't want to, and try to find a side each game, -1, -1.5. Give me the team that might still be in it, and as opposed to saying we already checked out for the preseason.
That's a great read. Rams are a good look on this one. I think the Rams at the points makes a ton of sense here. And to lighten it up a little bit, because I've been a little cool on the flats of the show this point. Blake Bortles. Let's talk about Blake Bortles a little bit.
Let's do it.
He was distracted in game 1 because they showed that clip of him getting the team fired up, and they were right over his bald spot. And they just showed his just gross hair.
Damn,
it was
man.
on national TV, and everyone was commenting on Blake Bortles' terrible hair.
Damn, Blake.
And so what does he do? He shaves his head, right? The distractions are finally behind him of Baldgate, and I think we do see a pretty competitive performance from Bortles tonight. But even more so, I think Donnie hit this on the head. You are going to see a checked out Broncos team here. This has 17-3 kind of written all over it. I like an under here. I like a Broncos team total under look. The fact that Drew Lock broke his thumb is problematic for the Broncos for this season, because now we really are staring 16 games from Joe Flacco starting, and we're staring that in the face, which means things could go sideways for this franchise. And I mean, not that Drew Lock didn't really have expectations he was going to come in and be a savior this year, but if you're not even necessarily going to have that option to kind of get him into the mix until the very tail end of the season, that's going to be tough. So
I guess, are we having a little bit of issues with the mic on Whale Capper? Some guys in the chat saying that there is mic problems with our guy Whale Capper.
How much did you guys miss? I can go back to square one, but I'm a little long-winded.
Can we run this back? Run the show back?
I must have nicked the cord or something. But yeah, no. Broncos are checked out. Broncos.
Go over the point. Go over the part again that I nailed it.
Yeah,
that's what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, Donnie nailed it.
There you go. Thank you.
Go rewind the show and re-listen to Donnie's breakdown, because he's correct.
Okay, yeah, Grace saying that all good now, beautiful. Yeah, I like both looks. Broncos team total under, and both you guys on the Rams, both of them. That makes a ton of sense. I think that's willing to make a move. I've slowed down my preseason plays after a few losses started piling up. I was like, what am I doing here?
Why am I doing this?
So I'm 10-13 now. We have the record, but whatever. But yeah, 10-13, but these seem like legitimate angles. And our guy in text saying, great to see you guys get together for this event. You'll remember stories forever. The best part in 30 years. You all will get together after all your trips and laugh even harder. Yeah, that certainly feels that way in text. And wish you were here to party with us and to hang with us as well, my man. Especially because we're going to the horse track tomorrow, where you'd be an enormous asset for us. We're going for the Rainbow Pick 6. We are coming back to our individual homes as a group $1 million richer. $1 million richer. Seahawks Chargers. Open Chargers -1 now. Seahawks -3 or -3.5. Total open at 43 now. Pinnacle Bet Online hanging 41s. Other books hanging 40.5s. Seahawks open with a win at home to the Broncos before losing 25-19 at the Vikings. Russell Wilson looked fine, but Paxton Lynch came in and looked real bad last game. Chargers opened the preseason with 17-13 loss at the Cardinals and a 19-17 loss at home to the Saints. Cardale Jones, man, looked good. He looked good. 10 for 14, 111 yards, 1 TD. I enjoyed seeing him look good, and that was one of the few preseason performances that did put a big smile on my face. Helped the Chargers get off to a 17-3 lead. I mean, they were in complete control after Jones did his thing, and that was nice to see. Open Chargers -1 now. Seahawks -3 or 3.5, 4 or 4.5 points towards the Seabirds. What do you think about this spot, Tony?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, you will like Seattle, and maybe Pete's back in that whole mode of we're going to start winning preseason games. And it makes sense here. And, Russell Wilson's probably going to get himself a good first at least quarter, maybe even quarter and a half in this ball game. When you're looking at the Chargers from the other side, how long is Phillip Rivers going to play? But do I want to lay the 3.5 in this spot? I would feel much more comfortable if somebody even jumped that opening line of getting +2 or +1 offshore. But now that's up to 3, really a no play for me. But if I had to make a play and said, you know what? We're going to get after it. It probably still would be Seattle here, Jimmy.
And Torino saying I'd lean Seattle since Lynch might not play with the hit that he took. Whale Capper, Seahawks, Chargers.
Yeah, Seahawks here are the look. I think, again, you can kind of count on Pete Carroll trying to get his troops fired up for this one.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to try to get the locker room into a good place. And the Chargers' backup quarterback situation is an issue. I'm not a Cardale Jones fan at all. I thought that he's gotten away with some pretty sloppy play to this point in the preseason, and I could see him creating a couple turnovers if he's out there for an extended point of time. And I think that lends itself to some easy scores and some and a comfortable win here for the Seahawks.
Okay, so you didn't like that first half that he put on? I thought it was nice.
It's tough to say what the first units will look like head to head. I just am more confident that the Seahawks are going to give us 60 minutes here and that they make more sense in the full game.
No, I feel you. And do you still think that at -3 or -3.5, or do you think the time has passed?
No, I think, again, I'm not necessarily giving 3 and 3.5 much weight or seriousness as far as preseason games go. And so, I don't see a huge difference in -2 and -3.5. And to be honest, it's maybe 5% or so win probability difference between those two for a preseason game. So I would, I like the Seahawks, and I think, laying the points is not a big deal.
Nutflush says live bet the Seahawks by watching how hard Pete is chewing his gum.
You know what? That if you live by that, if you live by that code, you'll be a rich man.
Okay.
You retire early, really.
Oh well, yeah. Man. After we banked that rainbow pick 6, man.
That's right.
I'm gonna be arrested in like 3 hours. That's what's gonna happen. Be slapping ass. Yeah, we'll be rolling, man. Just won't be allowed back in the States. Steelers at Titans. Open Titans -3. Now they're at -2.5. This is the lone Sunday football game. Steelers, Titans. Titans open at -3. Now they're at 2.5. Total open at 41.5. Now 40s across the board. Steelers have opened up with 2 home wins over the Buccaneers and Chiefs. Neither Dobbs nor Rudolph look good under center in the win. Tomlin confirms Roethlisberger will play with the rest of the starters Sunday at Tennessee. Dobbs and Rudolph are expected to play, and they said don't expect Roethlisberger to go deep into the second quarter, but he should see the second quarter. So he's going to play at least a quarter plus. Titans opened up with a 27-10 win at Philadelphia, followed by a 22-17 loss at the Patriots. Tannehill, Mariota looked good enough and got the job done. And then Logan Woodside came in and just looked awful. Just looked very bad. It went 4 for 13. Donnie Rightside, Steelers, Titans.
Yeah, another tough one here. I have a problem with this football game, like trying to find an angle. Same thing with that Houston-Dallas game. Ben's going to play. If he plays a couple series, maybe. But I think they do have some pretty good backups that can at least handle the situation in the preseason. I think you have some decent quarterback play that you can get out of Tennessee. I mean, if it goes down to the third-string quarterbacks in this game to try to decide it, probably would lean towards the Steelers in this spot. But I really don't agree with the line move, and I don't know why it's going 2 and up from -1 offshore to -2.5, maybe even 3s at this point. Maybe even a look at the total might be a little bit better here at that 40. Because again, I think you're going to get some decent quarterback play in a dress rehearsal game. It's not too bad 40 in the spot,
or even a first half, because we know what happens when Woodside comes in as well.
Maybe a pick 6 though, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. I like that first half Steelers look. I think is a nice look. What do you think, Will?
I think I need to know more about what the quarterback rotation is going to be here. I don't have a sense still that the Titans are sold on Mariota as their QB1 this season.
Ooh.
His injury last year was kind of, wasn't really dissected. It happened at the end of the season. They didn't make the playoffs, and the Titans were kind of forgotten. But he got hurt last year and had a stinger in his neck. He was losing some feeling all throughout the season, right? In his throwing arm. That's a really problematic injury to go into this season confident that Mariota is your QB1, right? And they have a very tough decision to make about starting Mariota out at the gate or giving Tannehill a chance here, because if it's not, if Mariota is inconsistent all season, if he's a 500 quarterback and they're 8-8, then they really have kind of just wasted a whole year with a bunch of really talented pieces all around him on their roster. And I think what we've seen from Tannehill this preseason has been pretty good. He might be a better option for them at quarterback. And honestly, if they came out tomorrow and they were like, actually, we're going with Tannehill as our QB1 this year in Tennessee, I'm probably going and buying out of a bunch of under positions I have on the Titans. I think he's a little bit friskier option, and just the fact that they've given him a bunch of snaps with the number ones this year is wild. And I'd like to know better what the plan is this game for who's going to get what from a snap perspective. It's possible they've already decided that Mariota's their guy, and that we're going to see Tannehill some in the first half and see what's the guy Woodward, whatever. That guy's terrible. Absolutely terrible. If they throw him out there for the entirety of the second half, then there's no way I would be at all interested in the Titans ticket in this game. But if they tend to play if they give Mariota half one and they give Tannehill half two, and they're using this sort of as a dress rehearsal for their team to try to make a decision, then all of a sudden the Titans look like a great value. So I need to kind of do a little more digging in the beat writers kind of commentary from this week as we run up to this game to try to find some edge there, because as of right now I just don't know what we're going to see from Tennessee here.
Sportsbook says in his odds market article his favorite season win total was the under 8.5 on the Titans.
Yeah, I think that's conditional on Mariota legitimately starting week one. Honestly, because like the Titans under is a great look if you are kind of always going to have this uncertainty surrounding what's going on with the quarterback position, and that Mariota gets hit one time trying to convert a first down and can't feel his hand anymore, and they throw a cold quarterback in there, or they he keeps himself in the game and throws 4 picks, which we've seen from the guy. So there's definitely more volatility, more lower downside if you start the season with Mariota as your QB1 than if you pull the audible and throw Tannehill in there.
Yeah, I like. There's been times where I've really liked what I've seen from Tannehill. And obviously, times he's been hurt and times we haven't seen it. But if I look back at the two, Mariota and Tannehill, over the last 2 years, there's been more times where Tannehill's looked like he could lead a team to higher places than Mariota. And it's been sad, but it's also been about injuries. If Mariota can stay healthy, maybe he can show us what we thought we were getting out of from college. So we shall see. Riku Roxas says Titans finishing last in the AFC South and not winning 8 games. That's what Riku Roxas is saying. Tomer saying Titans have a good front seven, good offensive line, but Mariota can't stay healthy and secondary isn't good. I see them winning, so he sees them winning 8 games. I think from all the games that we broke down here, I think the Broncos-Rams has the biggest advantage of everyone. I think from the breakdowns of you guys and everything, and looking at the situations for the two teams, both the Rams and the Broncos team total under seem like the best plays on the entire card after listening to you guys. And there's certain situations where you guys are against each other, but that was one where you were both just soundly together on the spot, and I like that. I think that first half over Steelers-Titans is an interesting look, yeah, no, I like it. Those are my favorite spot on the card. Do any of you guys have? Is the play of the day chair up and running right now? Okay. Well, we'll see. Do any of you guys have NFL plays for tonight? Are you guys doing any NFL plays tonight? Look at all these drunks.
I haven't seen Ian's eyes all trip.
Yeah. So, saying if you probably can't hear them because we don't have mics over there, but they're saying the Bills, and even at 3.5, is fine. And who you're taking Cleveland first half, Al, or full game?
First half, and then Cleveland Buffalo parlay.
Okay, Cleveland first half and a Cleveland Buffalo parlay. So, and any of you guys making moves on this tonight's game? I think that's. I think it's my favorite look for sure.
On the Cleveland game, Jimmy.
Sorry?
Look at the drop on the Cleveland game. Pick them now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look, that's heavy. It was 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
I listened to his interviews on the radio, and
yeah, Gase is absolutely taking this. He's taking this preseason very seriously. So the Jets is on the money line. I think is a worthy spot.
Wow, and Donnie's. Donnie just showed us there's been a big market move back towards the Buccaneers. This was a 3 2 hours ago, and now there's -1s on the board.
There must be some.
Now there's a
I guess
Pinnacle.
I
Just
would
went
go
to,
look at Mary Kay Cabot's Twitter stream, and
Yeah.
I would try to see if there was like, oh yeah, actually
Pick 'em at
Mayfield's
Pinnacle
not
now,
going to
pick
play
'em
the
at
first
Chris.
half. He's
Yeah.
going to play one series
Yeah.
or something. Like
wow.
Which is what they
that. I'm
should be
guessing.
doing.
I don't know
Yeah.
that.
That's what they should be doing tonight.
Wow. Interesting. So, without a doubt, the Rams here has been the best look over these breakdowns. We are 30 minutes away from the last Beat the Bag live show while we're here in Miami. But that doesn't stop the stuff coming from here. We have Mr. Fat Fist and the Fight Analyst doing a big UFC show at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. They're going to talk about China, but they're also going to talk about Abu Dhabi because we know there's a huge fight. Huge fight happening there in 2 weeks. So we're going to talk about China and Abu Dhabi as well. And then right after that, we have the closing line. And the debut of Ragu and Big Boss on the Closing Line show with Drew Martin and Ian Cameron. So I will be in the audience for that. Also, check out our pinned tweet. We have a pinned tweet. We're giving out a NFL Game Pass on our show in like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. We're going to give out another NFL Game Pass. All you have to do is hit that pinned tweet and go to the link for our best sportsbooks page. Look at the 7 books that are on there. Those are our A and A+ books. And if you think there's another book that should be with them, let us know on that tweet. Reply on that tweet, and that automatically enters. And we have nothing without you guys in the chat. Absolutely nothing without you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And Intex, my guy Intex Vic says, thanks, Donnie. Just caught Tampa Bay at +2.
Oh, there you go.
So nice work. Nice work, Intex. And Sean Mick, though, saying the Redskins might go 0-16.
Oh, I like
and,
that.
that's Sean Mick saying Redskins go 0-16. How bad are they? Who the prop that all the books have of who's going to be the last place in the NFL? Who's your favorite to be last?
Yeah, it's not the Redskins, I don't think. I mean, the Redskins are going to be horrific, and the fact that the team is kind of quitting on the owner because the owner medical staff is, affecting the bottom line and future earning potential of the players is a huge problem. But 0-16 sounds low. The Redskins always play in division pretty tight. They get 2 games against the Giants. They always play the Cowboys pretty tight. We could get down the road in the season. They throw Haskins out there. No one's familiar with this game, and he puts them on a little bit of a streak. They build a little momentum heading into next season. I could see that. They don't have an incentive to lose.
No.
Right? Like, they don't need to be at the very top of the draft because they got their quarterback. So I would say I would be a little surprised if it's the Redskins. I would put the teams that I would put in the conversation. All are teams that I think are likely to need to be drafting a quarterback next year. And off the top of my head, the Dolphins and the Raiders and the Bengals all kind of look like teams that are ready to move on from their current quarterback situation and take a top-tier talent at the top of the draft. And any one of those 3 teams finds themselves in the one win in the win column come November, then I think that, the one of those teams is probably most incentivized to just call it a season.
It's such a good point to look at the teams who need a quarterback at the perfect. And if they do, then they're...
If we're going by trends, the Arizona Cardinals have fired their coach 2 seasons in a row, and they've drafted a quarterback in the first round 2 seasons in a row. So the trend would tell you they're going to fire their coach and they're going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. Well, we are 26 minutes away from Betting with the Bag, our last live Betting with the Bag show in Miami, and this week's just gone too fast. I wanted to slow down so badly. And it's just going to be a short one because we're going to be off to the Marlins game. And, man, I'm excited. Sherigan Amaterasu says, what about the Giants? With their running game, we talked a lot on this show about they're just welcome to the world of mediocrity. And so I don't think they're going to be a terrible football team. And their schedule isn't that tough. So we shall see. Sean Mick says, thanks, lads. Go get that hair of the dog. Yes, I'm going to go pour my first beverage of the day and get it started. Thank you guys so much for watching this show. Audible, week 3 preseason in the books. Next week, week 4 preseason.
Ooh, and then
then it starts. It starts for real. It starts for real. Thank you guys so much for watching. Last words, Donnie Rightside?
I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have a good time again tonight. But preseason, look, over the past decade, just real quick, usually knocking the preseason because most teams play it by the book, 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter. You can actually find a lot of good tea leaves now these days in the preseason. So I might be changing my opinion a little bit over the next few years on that.
Yeah, and I'll have to see what my record ends up at.
And then you'll make your mind, yeah.
Will Kemper, any final words?
Yeah, good discussion in the chat today. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and chirping it up. This is, literally like because week 3 of the preseason has gone from excitement over the dress rehearsal aspect to kind of disappointment that it's an extension of week 4. I think be a little even more conscientious about how much you're throwing around on these games where we have a lot of uncertainty about what the coaches and what the motivations of these teams are, and we just have to kind of honestly write down a list of okay, if I'm going to watch this game or if I'm going to pay attention to this or if I'm making a bet here, what am I trying to get out of watching this, because there's still a lot of things we can learn about these teams as we work our way towards week 1. And I'm conscientious about week 1 in general, and I'm curious what you guys think. This will be the least we've seen kind of first line NFL offenses play in the preseason ever across the league. Does that uncertainty week 1 create value for us as sharp handicappers, or does it make everything more coin flippy?
I think it. And I hate to make this an answer, and maybe Donnie can, but I think it makes it more coin flippy. I think it makes it more difficult. I think the fact that we're not seeing, and the quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks not being used, the young ones being used a lot. I think it's going to make it more difficult that we haven't seen enough of the first teamers. What do you think? No, it does. The one thing about handicapping, you want to recognize your strengths and your faults. I'm a super square the first 2 weeks of the season, so I don't even bet it. If you look at the teams, this team should kill this team. Learning from the years, just saying I struggle the first 2 weeks because, again, you're right. You're talking about some teams playing in 80 to 85 degree weather early in September. They've taken 3 snaps live game situation. If anybody's played any sports, getting into it. I mean, even when, just playing low level college football, I run 1 pass pattern game 1 of the first game, and I feel like I ran a marathon already. So getting back into it's tough. Yeah, I'm very interested. In both the last 2 years, I had very bad week 1s. So I want to go into it with a different perspective and a different angle this year. I can't wait to be doing it with you guys. It's such a treat to roll with you guys. Stick around for Betting with the Bag in 22 minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll be back again next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday and Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching.